The Washington Commanders fall at home 38-31 against division rival Philadelphia Eagles. This is our instant reaction here on Ref the District. Let's go. Greetings and salutations and welcome to Ref the District's instant reaction. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. We are on the Believe Network, and I really believed Washington was going to be able to pull off the upset at halftime, Stoner. Second time this season, Washington was up 17-10 over their division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, only for them to fall flat on their face in the second half. This time losing 38-31 in regulation. Last time was 34-31 in overtime.
Yeah.
Why is Washington doing so well against Philadelphia overall? But the second half is just not where it is. Philadelphia putting up, what was that, 28 points in the second half.
Coaching, Nathan. It's very simple. You can really narrow this game down to coaching was not good for Washington on many levels. And on this show, we like to get on Eric Bieniemy's case pretty hard. This is not the game to do that. When you put up 31 points against the Eagles, one of the best defenses, it's not the time to start blaming Eric Bieniemy. But good God, this defense is some of the worst defense I've ever seen, and that's not even taking into consideration the fact that you have 6 first-rounders out there playing. It's just, you can't keep doing this week in and week out and week in. I mean, they only gave up 14 last week, but that's the Giants. The Giants are a pathetic offensive team. You can't just keep giving up 30-plus points every single week. Not in the NFL. I don't care if you don't have any first-rounders on defense.
Yeah, there's plenty of teams out there with a heck of a lot less first-rounders doing a much better job on defense. Washington giving up 38 today. I mentioned 28 in the second half. They've given up 30 or more points 5 times this season.
How many games have they played?
8 games, Stoner. 8 games, and 5 of them, interesting enough, not all of them losses. They won the Broncos game. They've lost every other one of those that they've given up 30-plus points. And the Falcons putting up 16. Let's see here. 16 for the Cardinals, 14 for the Giants. So
you're talking about Tyrod Taylor, Desmond Ridder, and Josh Dobbs. That's who you're holding down.
And they're still putting up 2 touchdowns at least on you. And that means you're giving up 30 points on 5 games, and you're giving up 2 touchdowns at least on the other 3 games. That's absurd. That's absolutely absurd. Yeah. And like you said, with some first round talent, and this was the game, Stoner, where leading into it, we have Blazer talking about trading away some of these defensive players. And it's just like, we were asked on our live stream or play by play, if this is how bad the defense looks with the first rounders, how bad it's going to look when you traded them away.
How bad is it going to look when KJ Henry and Andre Jones, a 5th and 7th round picks, are in there for Chase and Montez come next week against New England? How is that going to look? You're exactly right. And what's crazy about this year is that they just can't seem to put a full game together. When you have the defensive performance from last week, the offense was incredibly bad. And then when you have the offensive performance in these 2 games against the Eagles and other teams, the defense falls apart. I mean, there were 2 punts for Philadelphia, their very first drive, and then they had one in the second half. Now, Washington only had 2 punts as well because their offense was playing pretty well. They had the 2 turnovers on downs, right? You had the one where they went for it in the first half, I think that was. And then they had the one they had to in the second half when you had the strip sack. The only sack of the day that they gave up, by the way.
They were actually 0 for 3 on 4th down conversions, so 3 turnovers on downs for Washington.
I can't even remember what the other one was.
I have to look
what was I don't even remember what the other one was. But basically, your offense was humming. Your offense was really well. So, again, this is not the week to get ticked off at Eric Bieniemy. even though the run to pass ratio is still just way out of whack. And we'll talk about that. And it's fair to talk about that. But you have to put it into context, because you saw, especially in the first half, it was screen pass, bubble screen, short pass, quick slant, quick outs, all of that. And that's why that's an extension, as you always talk about. That's an extension of the running game. So you kind of give him a pass for that. But these numbers, it's just too much. He had 52 pass attempts. He was sacked once, so that's 53. And he had 2 scrambles. So that's 55 dropbacks that he had. And they ran the ball 14 times.
I mean, he had a very successful day. Sam Howell had a very successful day. I mean, and that's why I think, like, yeah, we can critique it. We probably will on tomorrow's day after reckoning, after we get a fresh set of eyes on this, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that for all accounts, the offense was very successful outside of, by the way, those the fourth one that you're misremembering. You're not recalling, rather.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you can't, because we were screaming, not like this. Terry McLaurin, back-to-back drops. Dropped it on, hits his helmet on 3rd down. Not the best pass, but very catchable.
Yeah, you're right.
4th down.
You're right.
Not the best pass, but very catchable, right in the bread basket. Terry McLaurin just drops it. That was your other one. So you mentioned the other 2 being aggressive in the first half and then having to go for it. And the botched call there. I'm going to call it what it is, Stoner. That was a botched call. As Jahan Dotson.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, Jahan Dotson comes down with the ball. They call it a catch. Darius Slay's injured. During him getting tended to and walking off the field, they decide to call it incomplete.
Right.
It's at 2 minutes and 5 seconds, Stoner.
Right.
I don't know what happened that they decided to overturn it, because there's no reviews from up top that should be happening until we hit the 2-minute mark. That reversal forces Ron Rivera to have to call a challenge. And I'm saying have to. There's no, I don't understand. I would not. We would all be out for his head, Stoner, if he doesn't challenge that, and it's 100%. 4th and 5, and we're having to go for it anyways. We lose a timeout because the way it works is they didn't get a clear shot at it. Jahan Dotson caught that ball.
100%.
And
100% he caught it. But also, Nathan, I will give them just a slight pass. Not that they overturned the call on the field, because an official had to come up and say, I had a better angle and I saw it hit the ground. Because the guy who called the catch originally cannot then just say, you know what, I'm changing my mind.
Yeah, wave it off.
Somebody else had to come in and say that. Now, if Slay had not been hurt, because that's when the official had time to come in and change it, if he had not been hurt, the clock would have gone down to the 2-minute warning, and they still would have changed the call, right? Because the other official still had time to then come in and change the call. However, now I don't know what the rule is, and maybe you can tell me on this. If it is then at the 2-minute warning, would that be an automatic booth review, or would Ron have to use a challenge on that?
Should have been.
So let's say it went down to the 2-minute warning. Slade doesn't get hurt. It goes to the 2-minute warning. Then they overturn the call. Somebody overturns the call. Would then that be a booth
should
review?
Because it's two I know we all always say under 2 minutes, but it's, I believe,
at 2 minutes.
It's 2 minutes and under there.
But it wouldn't have changed.
That's now. It wouldn't have changed. There was nothing you can do if that was called a catch like it was, and Sirianni was the one to throw the flag. It's not getting overturned.
Either way.
What I saw was him cradling it, but because you can't see whether or not it did, it's like it could or it could not be. But Washington didn't lose by, that call. They didn't lose by Terry McLaurin's 2 drops.
It's just shady.
We talk about how bad this defense was, giving up 28 points and 38 points over in the second half, 38 points overall. The defense did have 2 great outings in the goal line stance. They got the ball twice by fumble recovery, but I mean, that was also them getting in trouble, right? All the way down to the goal line and needing those fumble recoveries to stop this from being a 50 burger.
Yeah, it would have been. Absolutely.
And I get AJ Brown he's nigh unstoppable this season. He sets an NFL record today with 125 yards in 6 straight games. First player in NFL history to do that. And they stuck Emmanuel Forbes out on him again. I don't understand the reasoning behind that.
Yeah.
You're trying to you're playing one-on-one, and I get trusting your guys, and not Montez Sweat, but Benjamin St. Juste was doing what he could. And that one touchdown grab AJ Brown has, there's maybe 3 guys in the world who make that catch.
100%.
Okay. And he just happens to be one of them.
Yeah.
But Jalen Hurts is banged up. He was hobbling all game long, and he throws for 4 touchdowns against this defense.
Yeah.
And they just didn't have an answer for the Eagles the second time this season.
Philly couldn't run the ball on this defense. They ran the ball 22 times for 59 yards, which is a 2.7 yard average. And that includes the touchdown there at the end when they had the fake tush push and ran it outside, which was a brilliant call, by the way. Outcoached there with a brilliant call by Philadelphia's offensive coordinator, Brian Johnson, would you like to be a head coach? Just asking.
We might have a position opening.
Yeah, there may be a position open for a head coach. But I'm just the coaching decisions overall, defensively, like you said, some of those with Forbes out there. But we do have to put a lot on this vaunted defensive line that couldn't get home on Jalen Hurts. They just couldn't get to him because and most of the time that we noticed, they were just rushing the 4 guys. And Jonathan Allen, you hear him say it every week. He says, we should be able to beat our guys no matter what, us four first rounders. And they're just not doing it. And so that's on them. That's not on coaching. But of course, coaching overall, you give up so many points. Again, 38 points to Philadelphia, and it could have been 52 because of the 2 fumbles. One was at the goal line. One was inside the 10, I believe, for the other one. So they easily could have scored 52. But I do want to ask you about this, Nathan, about when they did not challenge the call in the first half on that Devontae Smith catch. Everybody in the stadium knew that was not a catch. And Ron did not challenge it. And this is the same thing that happened last year, if you remember. Same player, Devontae Smith, had a play on the sideline. He did not catch it. But Philadelphia, being well coached, gets up to the line and runs a play. And I think Jalen Hurts kind of ran around a little bit and then threw it out of bounds, and it was 2nd and 10. That's way better than losing the challenge and going all the way back. They don't really care what happens on that play. They just are well coached to get up there and snap the ball. Even kneel it, for crying out loud. You might want to do that.
Do anything to avoid
outcoached.
it. Yeah.
That's being outcoached. Ron has been outcoached all year for 4 years. But here we are. I'm sure we're just going to have to deal with it for 9 more weeks. 10 more weeks with the
trade deadline is 2 games away. And again, the big talk here was this: Washington was going to determine whether or not they're buyers or sellers at the trade deadline based off of this game.
Yeah.
And after this result, what do you think they're thinking?
Well, I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for saying something like this. But first of all, I don't think this one game should decide whether they're going to be buyers or sellers.
They have 5 more bad losses, though, to look at, but sure.
Right. But I don't think that a lot of people are saying you're going into this game, and if you win, you don't sell. And if you lose, you go ahead and sell. I don't think that should be the case. If you're going to sell, sell. If you're not, don't. But this is going to sound really, really dumb. And I'm a dumb person, and I understand. But at 3-5, with 3 winnable games coming up, and I understand this is Washington, and we're not that good in all of that, but they're still winnable games. You could be 6-5
Mhm.
in a month from now, in 3 weeks from now.
Oh, I mean, we said that
game.
after the last Philadelphia loss too, right? We're like, hey, these are winnable games.
Right.
You get
That
back
doesn't-
and you host Philadelphia and you've got a winning record and all this is good.
I'm not
But they
insane. Nathan.
have to perform.
Right. 100%. I'm not insane in saying that they're going to win these games and be 6-5, or they're good enough to be 6-5. I'm not saying that, but it can happen. And we have to take this and look at it from that kind of stand back a little bit and say, you can beat New England. You can beat Seattle. Seattle's a good team, but they're not great. You can beat the Giants. Okay, those are 3 winnable games, and you're 6-5, and you're back in it.
Can they?
No, I don't have any reason to believe that they can, but it could happen. Bad teams win all the time.
Sure. That was our mantra going into this game when people are like, can Washington win? Hey, any given Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, you never know what's going to happen. Division games and for this particular game, what does Washington have to do differently? You have a quarterback who throws for nearly 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. You average 5+ yards per carry on the ground. You win the turnover battle. You win the possession battle. You're 7 for 12 on 3rd down.
Jesus.
Like what do you got to do?
You're right, Nathan. Those numbers are staggering. All those numbers that you just gave, that you win the turnover battle, you win the yardage battle, you win the time of possession, you offensively, you were so good. All of that stuff should add up to a victory. But
you're
my
2
God,
for 2 in the red zone.
7 of 12 on 3rd down conversions. You were 0 for 3 on 4th down conversions, but still, all that numbers should add up to a victory. But the defense could not stop Philadelphia, period. They could not stop them, and that's where the entire blame goes for this. But I will say, Nathan, we did talk about the run to pass ratio again, and we'll dig deeper into it again because the numbers are staggering how much they're throwing the ball in this game. What did we say? It's 55-14, 56-14. That's insane. That's an insane number. Here's something that Mitch Tischler put out on Twitter after the game. This is a staggering stat. Whenever a team drops back 40+ times, not 50, Nathan, 40+ times, do you want to know what their winning percentage is?
Probably
do you want to guess?
One this season alone? Or
no. In the history of football.
History of NFL?
Well, since 1940, since the modern era of football. And
10%.
we're talking about, I'm going to give you how many games? Over 5,000 games or 5,000 times that a team has dropped back 40+ times.
5,000 games, 10% is way too high now. I'm going to go with like 6%.
6% of what? What do you mean 6%?
You said how many times they're going to win? 6% of the 5,000 games or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's a little low, but still, the number is about 27%.
Okay. I thought it was going to be way lower than that because good Lord, why are you passing that much?
Yeah. If you're going to drop back 40 times a game, you're probably going to lose. Whether you're dropping back to, hang on. Sorry. Let it do what it wants. Whether you're dropping back with all these quick passes and all these screens, which is great. If you're dropping back that much, you're not going to win the game, period. It's historically proven. You're talking about 5,000 games sample size. We're not talking about this year, 2 or 3 games, 5,000. You can't drop back 40+ times and think you're going to be successful. It ain't happening.
Well, throw another stat that Washington won today, and that was the sack battle, getting after Jalen Hurts twice. Sam Howell, for the first time all season, was only sacked one time.
One time. And he wasn't, and it came at a terrible time.
Oh, terrible time. So, yeah, both the interception and the fumble absolutely they were just the worst time. It was like, what? Terry McLaurin drops, right? Those were coming at the worst time.
Yeah.
Sam Howell's interception, worst time. The first sack all game long was a game ender. I mean, it's just
Let me give you some looking back at our scores. Stoner had it 27-21 Philly. Trev had it 31-13 Philly, and you had it 22-16 Philly. Just thought I'd throw that out there just to.
Oh yeah,
I mean, there's a bunch of other props, but we'll talk about that.
Of course, it was going to get flipped on its head here. It's a division game. You never know what's going to happen. Although it's probably easy to predict Washington losing. They've got several games coming up, Stoner. We're going to sleep on this one. We'll come back and we'll take a look again tomorrow, day after Reckoning. If you got questions that you want to hit us up, make sure you hit us up on our social media platforms, or if you're watching this on YouTube, just comment right there with your questions and we'll try to answer them on that day after Reckoning. If you're listening to this on your favorite audio platform, make sure that you're subbed up there for us. We provide you content every day of the week. Washington falling 38-31 here against the Eagles. Next week, it's the Patriots. And hopefully things get changed around here, Stoner. But until next time.
Groundhog Day. I don't think it's going to change anything.
Be a fan.